Well, the Bombay High Court today convicted former Tehelka Editor-in-Chief Tarun Tejpal under the three provisions of the Indian Penal Code for raping a colleague in 2013, setting aside his acquittal by a Goa Sessions Court 5 years ago. Tejpal was convicted under Section 376, who is a guardian or in a position of trust or authority rapes a woman, 354A, sexual harassment, and 354B, using criminal force on a woman with an intent to disrobe her of the IPC. Let's have a look at some of the interesting observations made by the Bombay High Court in the judgment copy. Well, in a landmark ruling today, the High Court overturned the acquittal of former Tehelka editor Tarun Tejpal, sentencing him to 10 years in prison. While convicting Tejpal, the court delivered a strong rebuke against how sexual assault survivors are judged, forcefully dismantling the idea of a quote-perfect victim. Addressing the trial court's flawed logic, the bench observed that when a survivor does not fit the mold of a perfect victim, the trauma is normally devalued. Shweta, my colleague, is joining us on the broadcast to talk more about this. Shweta, could be considered a landmark decision. Tarun Tejpal, was acquitted by a sessions court 5 years ago. Now he's going to go back to jail for 10 years at that.
Absolutely, Vineet. In fact, this can be considered as a landmark judgment by the Goa bench of Bombay High Court, which precisely focuses on no means no. Now, remember, when it comes to his acquittal, Tarunjit Tejpal was acquitted by the Session Court in the year 2021. But here, while we understand that when this matter again was before the Goa bench of Bombay High Court, the bench of Justice Neela Gokhale, as well as we have seen Amit Jasindar, they in fact went through this entire argument, and when we speak about Abad Ponda, who was representing Tarunjit Tejpal, he pleaded for minimum punishment. However, the SD, that is Solicitor General Tushar Mehta, was appearing on behalf of Goa government, had pleaded for, of course, the maximum punishment, and he emphasizes on the fact that no means no. Now, very importantly, we should understand here that how the exact acquittal which was made in 2021 was set aside by the Bombay High Court Goa bench, and they also stated that he gets the maximum punishment, that is, he's been sentenced to 10 years.
Shweta, appreciate you joining us. Shweta, stay with us. In fact, the judgment copy by the High Court noted that the respondent, Tarun Tejpal, was the victim's employer, mentor, her father's friend, and the father of a close friend. Tejpal held a position of dominance, control, trust, and authority over her. For this abuse of authority, he was charged under the specific aggravated categories of Sections 376 and K of the Indian Penal Code. Shweta, this is obviously a very precarious position for Mr. Tejpal to be in. Obviously, there's a stigma attached to the kind of harassment that pursued, considering his relationship with the victim.
Right, Vineet, and this in fact makes this particular case even more significant. Now, as we understand that under the relevant sections of Indian Penal Code in Section 376(2) and 354A and 354B, he was held, and he was convicted. And Bombay High Court, very importantly, they had set aside the acquittal order which was given by the Sessions Court in 2021. While Tejpal again mentioned the fact on grounds that the court should in fact understand his age, and he has 2 daughters, but very important pronouncement of judgment that had come from Bombay High Court Goa bench stated that he would be awarded maximum punishment, that is sentence of 10 years in 2013 sexual assault case.
Shweta, stay with us. In fact, in a significant observation while convicting former Tehelka editor Tarun Tejpal, the High Court said that the survivor's testimony was of sterling quality and inspired complete confidence. The bench held that her account met the highest standards of credibility and reliability, adding that there was no need for any independent corroboration. The court said that there was no compelling reason to seek additional evidence, accepting the survivor's testimony on the core aspects of the offence and treating it as sufficient to sustain the conviction as well. Shweta, so the High Court in fact completely distancing itself from the Session Court's logic, and also saying that her testimony should have been enough to go for the conviction.
Absolutely, that's right, Vineet. In fact, Bombay High Court made two important decisions. Firstly, setting aside the acquittal order of 2021 that was given by the Sessions Court. Number two, given the maximum punishment that is of a sentence to 10 years. And here we also understand that time and again, Tarun Tejpal, he stated that how he is a political victim. And he said that these allegations were baseless. He's just being, tainted. And completely, in fact, from his legal counsel, also from Mr. Abad Ponda, they pleaded for the minimum punishment, again citing that, look at his age, and, he has already served a lot before, and he got acquitted in 2021. But Bombay High Court, very keen on their observation, very keen on understanding this matter carefully. They have, awarded 10 years of punishment to Tarun Tejpal in 2013 sexual assault case. Now, remember, this case, in fact, since 2013, grabbed several headlines, and several people were also, they were associated with this case, and trial went on for years, and 2021 was the year when he got acquitted, but this has been now overturned by the Goa bench of Bombay High Court, and the accused, Tarun Tejpal, has been awarded of 10 years of sentence in the case of sexual assault that took place in 2013.
Shweta, stay with us. Well, the High Court has also dealt a severe blow to the defence's arguments regarding the apology emails sent by Tarun Tejpal shortly after the incident. While the trial court had accepted the defence's claim that these emails were issued under pressure, the High Court completely rejected that logic. Rebuking the lower court's reasoning, the bench observed the apology emails clearly relate to an encounter, sexual liaison, and furtive acts in respect of which the respondent issued two apologies, one formal and the other personal. Without any substantive material, the trial court believed the apologies were given under pressure. No person of reasonable prudence would apologize falsely for such an incident, especially someone like him. The High Court held that these emails amounted to a clear admission of guilt, ruling that the defence's claims of coercion were entirely unconvincing. Shweta, another scathing remark by the High Court, saying that these emails should have been looked at as admission to guilt, not as anything else.
That's right, Vineet. In fact, Bombay High Court very much clear on their remarks. They stated that the series of emails that were sent by this accused Tarun Tejpal, it itself speaks for the crime that has been committed by him, and they should be seen as a guilt and not as something else. And how we have seen when it comes to his legal counsel, Mr. Ponda, he states that, again, he's being a political victim, and these are some other forces which have driven this case to the trial and so far. But Bombay High Court very categorically stating that when it comes to this case, the grievances of the survivor is something very important to understand, and they have dealt this case since 2013. And they also stated that the apology letter, the emails, in fact, should be seen as evidence, a part of guilt and not something else. And very clearly, they have also given the remark that the order that was given by the session court was something they have set aside. They have overturned that decision. And in their landmark judgment, as you have mentioned, Vineet, Bombay High Court, that is Goa bench, have sent the accused Tarun Tejpal in maximum punishment, that is 10 years of sentence in 2013 case. Remember, when it comes to this case, it was indeed, even that time, it drew a lot of flack, a lot of criticism. But again, the kind of stature and position what Tarun Tejpal had, being editor-in-chief of Tehelka magazine, and during that time also he tried painting himself as a victim, and it was all baseless. Since that time he maintained that particular ground, but now important judgment that has come from the Goa bench of Bombay High Court has clearly shown who is being guilty in this particular case. And as per the survivor's family, in fact, they have been relieved by the judgment. And today, in fact, as they were responding...
All right, Shweta, appreciate you joining us. Well, breaking news coming